Florida, Congresswoman Cammack, for 5 minutes of questioning.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for coming before the committee. I'll jump right into it. As my colleagues and I here on this committee have repeatedly said, food security is national security, and it's important that we do everything we can to support and protect American-grown products. Now, as you know, unfair competition from foreign imports is a growing problem for our producers. And specifically in Florida, without seasonal or perishable protections, this is a growing concern. We know that Mexico has unfair schemes targeting Florida producers specifically. And I know that many of my colleagues have raised similar issues on everything from peaches and honey and apple juice from China to seafood from Russia, all of which is ending up in American schools. So specifically, what is USDA doing to ensure that American-grown products are being served in American schools? And is there a requirement for American-grown products to be used in schools?
There is a requirement that that food that we purchase has to be produced and processed and everything aspect of it being done in the U.S.
Okay. Now, what are you doing to ensure that that is in fact happening? Because as I've just laid out, we're finding products from all over the world, from Russia and China, et cetera, in our school systems.
Well, if you want to give us information about the specific schools, we'll be more than happy to take a look at that specific circumstance. You know, we have a process in which we, through our Food and Nutrition Service, do the best we can to ensure that the purchases that are being made are consistent with the rules and regulations of FNS.
So I'll tell you what, by the end of the quarter, you and I can have a conversation, and I'll make sure my team gets the data to yours, and we can go through that.
Right. I'd be very interested in the names of the school districts that you've alluded to, so that we could take a deeper dive into that
Okay.
particular area.
Perfect. Now, moving on, according to FSA staff, as of February 9th, there are currently 1,550 applications for ECP assistance with the USDA that are either approved and not paid, not approved, or still pending in the wake of Hurricanes Ian and Idalia. Now, you and I have chatted about this offline, but it's been a year and a half since Hurricane Ian and 6 months since Idalia. While the local FSA staff has been very helpful, the few that we have, and we know that that is also an issue, the ability to process these applications in the aftermath, it's simply put just inadequate, and it's unacceptable. Mr. Secretary, can you explain the delays in our producers getting the assistance when they need it the most?
We are doing the very level best we can to get the resources out. I mean, I know that you wanted to ensure that the state would be allowed to do this block grant process, and you know what, if you authorize it, if the Congress creates the opportunity for this, we'll be more than happy to utilize that program. But in the meantime, we are doing the best we can with the resources that we have.
Well, and I will say there is certain flexibilities and liberties that you as Secretary can take to make programs a little bit more flexible and get the money out the door faster. So I would encourage you to utilize that authority. In your written testimony, you mentioned that the Biden administration's historic investments have allowed USDA the opportunity to ensure small and mid-sized producers get a fair shake. Those are your words. However, other agencies in this administration are proposing burdensome regulations, and if finalized, and some of them already have been, that will regulate these very producers that you're saying that you want to protect. It's going to regulate them out of business. Some examples of the regulations include Waters of the U.S., or WOTUS as we call it, the effluent limitation guidelines and standards for meat and poultry products, animal waste, air emissions reporting, the politicization of crop protection tools, the SEC climate disclosure rule, just a few. Heck, I had the administrator of the EPA tell me to my face, point blank, that he had no idea what contour terracing was or vegetative filter strips were. And yet his agency is mandating them for the producers that we're here to try to protect and support. So, Mr. Secretary, from my vantage point, it appears as though other agencies in this administration are playing in USDA's sandbox, and they're wanting to dictate what producers grow and how they do it. So instead of advocating for farmers and ranchers as intended, USDA is laser focused on expanding and funding policies related to what they believe to be climate smart. Now, you've testified multiple times, including before this very committee, that you don't want other agencies to tell you how to do your job. Yet at every other opportunity, other agencies are telling our farmers and ranchers how to do theirs. So you end your written testimony asking if we are okay losing another 400,000 family farms in the next 30 years. However, overregulation by the other agencies in this administration outside of the USDA are exactly, they're on the path to do exactly what your testimony is outlining. So instead of idly standing by, I would encourage